A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. So the upcoming ayats starting 228 Surah al-Baqarah are going to be related to the topic of divorce. Before we delve into the verses of the details about divorce, I wanted to give you like a summary of what are the details about this and what Islam says and what is the actual Sunnah way of doing divorce and what are the different ways of dissolving a marriage in Islam, because there are many misconceptions and the kind of questions that are received usually are related to whether 3 divorces are important, necessary for separating, or would they should be given in one session or not, and many other things about things that people learn wrongly from the Pakistani dramas about halala and the concept of how the dramatic ways in which the divorce is given. All those things are wrong, and inshallah I hope that after hearing this overall summary you will get some idea and it will help you understand the ayat also in a better way, especially also how the divorce happens in our back home, and it is really sad. It is so different from what the Sunnah method is. So in Islam, the way to dissolve marriage are there are 3 methods. One is divorce, one is khula, and one is fasakh. Divorce is mainly the right is given to the man. And we will study many reasons also, but the most important reason is that this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that this is how things will work, and inshallah we will understand the reason behind it too. The actual maslahat is Allah knows, but we do see why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded things that way. Divorce has 3 steps or 3 counts for each couple, and we'll study divorce a little bit more in detail. The second way is khula, which is a way to seek divorce by a wife, and that this is where she has the right if she wants out of the marriage. The third is fasakh, which is kind of an annulment which is done by a judge or imam based on some exceptions where the husband cannot be found or it's not clear if he's alive or dead, and how long the woman should wait and stuff. So let's talk about divorce. So the 3 counts that I said, that every couple is kind of, when they get married, they have 3 divorces allowed. The first 2 are called the talaq rujui, the divorce rujui, where they can connect. I will explain more how this can happen. And the third is talaq baini, which is a divorce that is final. Okay. So usually we see from the dramas that people say in the fight, they would say talaq, I give you divorce 3 times, and this is completely wrong. Prophet ﷺ has cursed the person who does that, and it is not supposed to. The sunnah, the prophetic way, the way in which Prophet has taught us to give talaq is completely different and very graceful. It is not where the other person is insulted or kicked out of the house. So kind of the 3 requirements to give talaq to the wife is, if not in the midst of a fight, not while they are angry, but in a calmer session when they have made up their minds that this is not working out, then the husband is supposed to make sure of these 3 things at least. One, that the wife is not in her periods. Second, she is not pregnant. And third, after her becoming pure this month, after her shower from the haid, from the period in the current month, they did not have any sexual relations. They did not have any intimate relations. Basically, they did not have intercourse during this month. So the women who feel that it is unfair that the husband has this right, they should understand that with the right comes a lot of responsibility. Anything that he does against the sunnah, he is actually sinning. So it's very burdensome for him actually. And Allah has protected the wife from giving the divorce also. I mean, we don't like to hear this, but women are generally more emotional. They go through the health issues in the sense because of some hormones due to her pregnancy, breastfeeding, monthly cycle, everything, right? And if So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects us from some kind of accountability, but we do have the right, women do have the right for khula. And so what happens is that after these three things are checked, if the things look clear that she's not pregnant, she's not in her period, then during this to her the clean cycle time of the month they've not had intercourse, then talaq can be given. As soon as the talaq is given by phone or by message or by written or verbally, she will start her iddah. The iddah or the waiting period, the spelling is IDDAH or IDDAT, is a waiting period, which in common words normally we say 3 months. It is 3 months for a regular menstruating woman, but it is 3 menstrual cycles. In the Arabic, in the ayat you'll find the word kuru, qaf ra wa hamza, which means menstrual cycle means that the start of one menses to the start of next. So menses starts and then ends, and then pure time starts, and then it ends and menses starts. So three menstrual cycles. So if a woman has menses every 2 months, then the waiting period will be 6 months. If a woman has normally periods in 15 days or something, then approximately it'll be 1.5 months. This is to establish pregnancy. If she's pregnant, so everyone knows who's the father of the child, and before she married somebody else. So this is like the waiting period. Also, the reason for this waiting period is that in case even that in that calm session the divorce was given out of haste, then they have time to reconcile. So when I said that the first two counts of the divorce are the counts where they can connect, it is during the time of iddah, the 3 months that they have. During that time, the women stays in the same home. They both live together and they get ready for each other. Basically, the woman is recommended that she would put makeup or jewelry or something, or whatever the husband likes. Everyone has different preferences. So she will, if in case there is any physical attraction between them or anything that can keep them together, so they will have a chance during these 3 months. This is let me explain the term iddah again. The waiting period I explained in terms of 3 months for a regular menstruating woman, but in case the woman is too old, she does not have menses, then it will be 3 Islamic months. In case a woman is pregnant, when the divorce will not be invalid, it will still happen. So like even a person gives divorce when the woman is in her periods, divorce will not be invalid, it will happen. If she is pregnant and he gives divorce, it will happen. Although the man will be sinning because he's going against the sunnah for that. Anyways, coming back to explaining you the waiting period. So in case a woman is pregnant already, then her waiting period, that iddah for her will be the term of her pregnancy, whether it ends in a delivery of a baby or it happens in a miscarriage or anything like that. Then it could be one day, because the baby, if she delivers a baby next day, or it could be 8 months, 9 months. So that is the waiting period, waiting time. Now, in the first divorce that has happened, if she is in the waiting period, she will stay in the same house. They will both stay in the same house. In case the husband decides to change his mind, then what will happen is that will end at the same time during this 3 months, and they will be living again like the normal husband and wife. However, they will have used 1 out of 3 divorces that they have available. Now, how will the iddat end? It can happen because, again, many people think that it is only if they have physical relationships. It does not have to be like that. In case the husband is traveling and the third month has started in the waiting period and he is like out of country and he's not coming back within that time, so they can also talk on the phone, and the husband can say, okay, let's give it another try, let's try to figure things out, we don't want to separate, I don't want divorce and stuff like that. So even if it's not physical relationship, it does not have to have an intercourse for the iddat to end. It could be kiss or just a talk that we want to do this. and they try to figure things out. What are the things that they will compromise, what are the things that they will change, because you will read in the ayat again and again that the man has to make sure that he's not stopping the wife because of the intention of torturing her more, that why should I let her go. Okay, it has to be with pure intentions that he's going to do something, and they're going to make changes, and they're going to live a good life. The intention should not be to make each other miserable. So in case that happens, the iddah, whether it is in the first month, whether it is in the few hours of iddah, whether it is in the last day, on the third month, last day, when she's going to be taking a shower from her third menstrual cycle, then the husband says, or they decide, okay, we want to live together, then the iddah will end and they will be living like regular husband and wife. But if it doesn't happen and the 3 months have passed and they still want to stick to the same decision that they want divorce, then what will happen is that they will stop living together. After, as soon as the iddah ends, they will separate, whatever the accommodation settings are, whatever their plan is. And then what will happen is that the woman, the wife, will be allowed to marry anyone else. And in case they both decide after the 3 months have passed that was a wrong decision, they would want to live together, then they can get married. No, they don't have to, the wife does not have to marry another man. This will happen after the 3 talaqs are used, the 3 divorces are used. So one divorce has been used. Now the 3 months of waiting period has passed, then they did not reconcile during that time, and now they want to get married again, they are allowed to. Or if the woman, she again, just like anyone, has the right to say reject or accept the proposal, she can get married to the ex-husband, or she can marry somebody else, or she can just live like that. It is going to be her decision. And if they both decide that okay, they want to get married, then they will still they will get married, they will still have used one of their divorces. Okay, so this is why, according to Sunnah, one divorce is recommended. So this is permission, that it will be hassle-free if they even decide later on, after a few days or after many years, even 15-20 years have passed, and they decide that they want to live together, they want to get married, they can get married. And that is how the divorce rujui, in which they can connect. Now, for example, they reconciled and they are living together and they reach the same point. They have fights, things are not getting better, they're only worsening. They are deciding, okay, we need to get divorced. The husband will again sit in a calm session. He will make sure of the 3 checks, that she is not in periods, not pregnant, and they've not had any intimate relations during this tohar, during this clean time. So he will give a divorce. She will be in the waiting period again in the same house, and they will have time to reconcile. Everything will be exactly the same, and they will either live together or divorce, and they will still have used 2 divorces. And again, the woman will be free to marry some other guy, or not marry, or marry the ex-husband if they decide later on. Now the third, okay, let me tell you one more thing. So if the husband and wife decide to get married, for example, or if they want to reconcile, the parents or the families or the friends are not supposed to force them into not choosing each other. The girl's brothers, maybe they say that if he was treating you so badly, you should not marry him, you should not go back to him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told the family and the friends not to force them not to marry each other. Like, they are not supposed to interfere if they want to get married, if they want to live together, if they want to reconcile. The family and friends are not supposed to interfere and to make things worse. If they decide to reconcile, they should be allowed and encouraged to. Now, if 2 times they've had talaq, and then now that they reach a point where they want to decide to have divorce again, this time one more thing will be in the check. that will be, first, that she is not pregnant; second, she is not in haid or the periods; third, they have not had intercourse during this tuhur, and the fourth will be that because right after the divorce she will not be able to live together, they should decide what the accommodation logistics will be. Where will she be after the divorce? Because they will become na mehram, they will not be mehram for each other, and they will not be allowed to live. Even the waiting period has to be spent somewhere else. So whether she has to go to her parents' house or they have some other living accommodations, different two different apartments, houses, whatever it is, the setting, this has to be figured out before, so there is no problem. It is better even to figure out the custody of the children if they have any, on what is going to be the system. So things are easier as long as they are mehram for each other, and sometimes it's easier to figure out things before, unless it's very difficult to talk to each other, and other person, one of the people, are very abusive or something like that. So then the third divorce will happen, and how it will be different, they won't be living together, the idda will still be the same, 3 months or the 3 menstrual cycles. And what will happen differently is that this time they are not going to be allowed to marry each other after the idda. They will have to, this is a final divorce, so if they want to get back together, if they want to reconcile, it has to be after the whole process that the wife is married to some other person and that second husband gives her divorce, or he dies or something happens like that. But it cannot be done with a plan. So it, according to some of the dramas, again, unfortunately, these things are shown that they get a fatwa, they get the permission from some of the imams that this is allowed, and sometimes the family, the father, the husband even says, the ex-husband says, okay, I'll pay this guy and he can marry you for a few days, and then he will give you a divorce and we can both get married again. This is not allowed. This is not at all allowed, approved, anything. So this should not be done. Only in the natural course of time this happens, that the woman becomes a widow or divorcee again, then she will be able to marry the first husband. Okay, and now this is about divorce. Now the thing that I wanted to say, the second way of dissolving the marriage is the khula, in which the woman, okay, so one thing about divorce, one more thing about divorce is that if they would separate and everything gets finalized, whether it is after one divorce or two divorces or all three have happened, whenever they separate finally, then the husband is not supposed to take any of the gifts back. He's not supposed to, or his family, just like we see in our back home. It is very unfortunate that after a whole emotional turmoil that the husband and wife go through, the families get into, like, all the jewelry that we gave your daughter, we want it back, or any property that was given in her name, or any of those fancy clothes that they take even littlest things. This condition is so bad that they would ask sometimes to be refunded for things that are used up in the past. So this is extremely haram. This is not allowed to the extent that even generally taking back any gift is not allowed. Prophet ﷺ mentioned that giving a gift and taking it back is like vomiting and licking it, or dog vomits and licks it, something like that. So it is not allowed. So if any families go through talaq, which is a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is a mercy upon us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept this door open if the marriage doesn't work out, because some of the religions don't allow that. And in our religion, if divorce is allowed, it is a mercy upon people, because it is understandable that things might not work out between two people, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept this gate open, and it should not be made messy. It should not be made to an insulting or embarrassing moment for others. If people end up deciding that, we should not make them feel bad, and we should not have all that gossip session and the slandering sessions and backbiting sessions that the families and friends and neighbors and everyone wants to know all the gossip about why and how and everything happened. Also, the families of the wife and the husband, they think that it is now their duty to clear their part and to make all the things, tell everyone about how bad the boy's family was, or the boy's family has to show that how nice they are, and they did this and they did this, and the girl was not caring at all, and she was a spoiled girl and everything. It is not allowed, and there is a lot of sin. It is like you're accumulating a huge sin after going through an azmaish, a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Already the husband and wife, or if the children are involved, they're going through a lot. So it is not allowed to make each other miserable at this time. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the verses, you will see the word ma'aruf again and again and again, that it should be done with kindness, with grace, with du'as for each other, with care for each other. So much so that the husband is even told to give gifts to the wife along with the du'as for a good life in the future. He's supposed to actually give gifts. It has to happen in such a way that it is ma'ruf. Ma'ruf means something that is understood as a reasonable, and it could be reasonable for different people depending on their age, depending on where they live, depending on their financial status, everything. So it is supposed to be done in a nice way. Compared to what we see, it's really bad how divorce happens in our culture. It is very messy. It is full of fights. It is full of fights about petty things after the whole thing. Because already it is understood that the divorce is happening because it didn't work out, right? And then on top of that, making things more miserable is it's really haram. Okay? So please, if God tests you in any way like that, please make sure that you do not make the other person's life miserable. Just let go of things. Do seek apology, forgive the other, thinking that this is my Allah's hukum and I want to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded me to. Now, coming to the process of khula. Khula is the method of seeking divorce from the wife's side when the husband is not willing to give. And in this case, the woman is supposed to give up her gifts and the haq meher also, and she's supposed to give it full or some part of it depending on whether the husband says that okay, I don't want anything. But the husband should not be forced or made to feel guilty to say that, because it is his right also to accept gifts in this scenario. So it should not be like he's such a bad man, he's like accepted everything that I returned to him, because this is a way for a woman to buy khula. And just in the same way that the husband, when he divorces the wife, he's not supposed to absolutely ask for any single thing. The ayat also goes to say that even if you've given like big piles and piles of gold and silver to the wife, you're not supposed to take even tiny bit back. So no haq meher, no gifts during the anniversaries, nothing should be taken back in divorce, but he's allowed to take back. But he should not fall to the level that he would ask and remind the wife that, oh, I also gave you this and this and this. It is the wife's duty to offer everything. Now it depends on the husband. He's allowed to, completely halal for him to take everything that was given and which was not consumed, basically, like the dinner parties or the vacations. Of course she cannot return those, but anything that was material, any property or jewelry that she can return, or any cash that she can return, that should be returned for khula. And the khula does not have 3 steps. It is just like, it acts like the final divorce. So there, it is not revocable, and it will completely lead to the final divorce. All right. And fasakh is the one in which the judge or the imam decides that in this situation what is the solution. So I hope it will help you understand the details about the ayat that are given from ayat 228 Surah al-Baqarah, starting in the next session. This time I think it is the session is already long enough, so let me do the translation and the explanation of the ayat in the next session, inshallah.